Sweden, Italy, USA, Poland, UAE, Nigeria, Australia, Canada, South Africa, Nepal, Kuwait, and India. I welcome Honorable Professor Dr. Monica Salute, Vice Chancellor, Bvdu, Pune, India, Dr. Sachin Karnekar, Dean, Faculty of Management Studies, Director, Imed, Pune, India, Mr. Pawan Chaudhary, CEO and Managing Director of Bygone India Private Limited from India, Dr. Bernardo Nicolati, Professor of Management Science Operations, Temple University, Rome, Italy, Dr. Sonia Valore, Professor, Department of Marketing, School of Business and Economics, Linnaeus University, Sweden, Mr. Yoon Kyung Lee, the Senior Supplier Development Engineer from Busan, South Korea. I also welcome all our corporate guests, alumni, faculty members, and students for this international conference. A warm welcome to all of you once again. I would now request Dr. Shraddha Bernekar, the conference coordinator, to brief us more about the event.
Thank you, Dr. Pujeka. I'll be introducing you all about our international conference on emerging markets, that is Icem 2021. I would like to start by quoting, "Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you do, you will be successful." The primary goal of Icem 2021 is to endow opportunities for academicians, scientists, and research scholars, along with professionals, decision makers, and industrial practitioners to deliver and confer their research contributions. The conference will also provide opportunities for inspiring young scholars to learn newly created avenues of research at an international academic forum. Icem 2021 aims to exchange and share experiences and research results on all aspects of global emerging markets. It also provides a premier interdisciplinary platform for researchers, practitioners, and educators to present and discuss the most recent innovations, trends, and concerns, as well as practical challenges encountered and solutions adopted. There are around 30 sub-themes on which 75 papers will be presented in these 3 days of the conference. In addition to the 75 presentations, there will be 21 speeches by resource persons and corporates from 14 countries who will share their experiences on the subject. Let me now give a brief idea about the various sessions in these 3 days. To begin with, we have the first session of the day, that is the inaugural session, wherein we have eminent speakers who will be sharing their kind words of wisdom with us. The inaugural session will commence with the welcome address of Honorable Dr. Sachin Karnekar, Dean and Director, Imed. Inaugural address by Honorable Dr. Monica Salute, Vice Chancellor, Bvdu, followed by Mr. Yoon Kyung Lee, Senior Supplier Development Engineer, Korea, Korea, Busan, South Korea. Dr. Sonia Valore, Professor, Department of Marketing, School of Business and Economics, Linnaeus University, Sweden. Dr. Bernardo Nicolati, Professor of Management Science Operations, Temple University, Rome, Italy. Mr. Pawan Chaudhary, CEO and Managing Director of Bygone India Private Limited, India, is the chairman of the inaugural function. Immediately after the inaugural, we have the plenary session wherein we have Dr. Jayanto as the chairperson, Dr. Jafar Iqbal from Chicago, USA, Dr. Anita Shivneska from Poland, Ms. Devi K. Krishnan from Dubai, UAE as the key speakers. Then, technical session 1 and 1A from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m., wherein technical session 1 would be chaired by Dr. Geetika Kapoor from Jaipur, India. And the key speakers are Mr. Behzad P. from Iran. Technical session 1A, which is for the students, it would be chaired by Dr. A.N. Gura from Kolhapur, India. Then from 4:30 to 5 p.m., we have a cultural evening by the students of Imed. Now coming to the day 2, that is 9th July, we have the plenary session from 10:30 a.m. to 11:45 a.m., wherein we have the key speakers as Dr. Ismaila Abdullah from Nigeria, Ms. Monica Kalam from Australia, Dr. Preeti Wadhwa from Canada, and Dr. Anup Pandit from India. Technical session. Technical session 2 from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. will be chaired by Dr. Manjula Jain from India, and we have Dr. Veena Nandi from Oman as the key speaker. Technical session 3, which will take place from 2 to 4:30 p.m., we have the key speakers as Dr. Prashant C. from India, Mr. Abhishek Tandon from UAE. To define our day beautifully, we have a cultural evening from 4:30 to 5 p.m. by the students of Imed. Now coming to the day 3, that is the 10th July, we have the plenary session 3 from 10:30 to 11:45 a.m. wherein we have Dr. Bvdu from India, Dr. Ravindra Rana from South Africa, Dr. Manoj Dixit from India as the key speakers. Now coming to the technical session 4, which will take place from 12 to 1:15 p.m., which would be chaired by Dr. Achyut from Nepal and Dr. Subhash Chandra from Kuwait as the key speaker. Last but not the least, we have the valedictory session at 1:15 p.m. in which we have two eminent speakers, Dr. Richard Jenkins from Australia, who will chair the session, and Mr. Manoj Sharma from India. He is the chief guest. We, Indians, follow 3 principles. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which means whole world is our family. Atithi Devo Bhavo means every guest on the premises is our God. Namaste, which means only positive things must be transferred from our side to whomsoever we meet. I'm sure all the participants from the different parts of the world will have a great feast in terms of exchange of ideas and strategies to face the future challenges. Thank you, stay safe, and have a beautiful day ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Shraddha. It is my privilege to introduce the chairman of the Icem, Dr. Sachin Veranekar. Dr. Sachin Veranekar is a Dean Faculty of Management Studies and Director at Imed Bvdu, Pune. He has over 36 years of teaching experience at the PG level and 28 years of administrative experience as Director of various B schools. Talking about his research profile, Sir has till date completed 2 major and 47 minor research projects, guided 11 MPhil students and 16 PhD students, and has published papers in more than 70 international conferences and 7 conference proceedings. Sir has attended and participated in more than 320 conferences, seminars, and workshops. He is also the member expert committee on Aicte, UGC, DEC, and NBA. Dr. Veranekar is the former member of UOS, the Pune University, the Mumbai University, and the Maulana Azad University. Talking about Sir's achievements, he has received the appreciation letter from the Honorable Minister of HRD, Government of India, for IMD being ranked in the top 75 B schools by NIR and MHRD, Government of India. Yeah. On this note, I would request Dr. Veranekar to please deliver his welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Sonali Kuzekar, Dr. Baljeet, Dr. Shraddha Veranekar, and the entire organizing team of this international conference. In fact, we received the approval letter for this international conference in June 2021 from Aicte. We are grateful to the All India Council for Technical Education for the sponsorship of this particular international conference on emerging markets. And I am very glad, within just 2 months' time, the entire team of IMD, with the blessings and the support of Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Manikarauji Saukhe, our Chancellor, Dr. Shivaji Rauji Kadam, Honorable Secretary, Dr. Vishwajit Kadam, and the entire team, we could get the speakers, the resource persons from 14 countries, and we are going to have century of the speakers today. 75 papers plus 95 plus corporates and the resource persons from different countries. It's going to be really a great feast. I'm very glad to see Young Kroon from South Korea. How are you, sir? Good morning. Great to see you. Yeah, welcome, welcome. We have Charles Bernardo from Rome. We have Dr. Sonia from Sweden. And Pawan Chowdhury, a good friend of mine, who is the CEO and Managing Director of Bygone. He has been doing great in this particular field. And there are so many. Dr. Oak and Dr. Shraddha has already briefed you all the great eminent personalities, galaxy of personalities we have in this 3 days conference. I just request every participant, I think 500 plus participants will have, both the students, both the faculty members, both the corporates, and the research scholars. I want them all to enjoy every single speech, because each one of them, and thanks to, see, there's a blessing in disguise in this pandemic. Face to face, even if we had organized the international conference face to face offline, I don't think we would be able to have so many speakers from so many countries. So this is definitely a blessing in disguise and very, very important. It is said, despite the pandemic setback, it is the emerging economies that hold the greatest promise for new growth. So we thought the focus of this particular conference should be emerging markets. And the latest reports from Global Finance, IMF, and if you read any of these reports, you will find more and more countries and more investors are looking towards the emerging markets, including India and so many other countries. And we have South Korea, we have Rome, we have Australia, we have so many other countries represented here, Sweden, etc. And we'll definitely listen to them, their strategy and what exactly is to be done. I'll not take much of your time. I do understand we have so many speakers to speak on a variety of subjects. I just would like to briefly tell you about Bharati Vidyapit and Imed. Bharati Vidyapit started functioning in 1964 as a tiny unit, and today we have 180 plus institutions from pre-primary schools to research level institutions run by Bharati Vidyapit. Bharati Vidyapit deemed to be university started functioning in 1996 for 12 institutions of Bharati Vidyapit. Because of the excellence achieved, Government of India MHRD awarded deemed to be university status, and we have more than 29 institutions under Bharati Vidyapit deemed to be university, which is one of the top 100 universities in India, ranked by NIRF, MHRD, Government of India. Bharati Vidyapit deemed to be university is awarded A+ grade by NAC. It is category 1 institution according to UGC, and we as a team, as a Bharati Vidyapit family, are doing great job under the guidance of Honorable Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Honorable Secretary and Co-Vice Chancellor. We keep on organizing international conferences. IMD, that is Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship Development, has been organizing international and national conferences, more than 100 events in the last 1 year. Online events we organize, which includes the Expression, the International Fest, many webinars, international alumni meet, and we did not leave any stone unturned to expose our students to the finer and practical aspects of management. And today, in the next 3 days, I have requested all my colleagues to ensure that this conference is a great success. And the success, I can see so many people here on the screen that very well speaks volumes about the success of this particular international conference. I am sure without any technical and other glitches, this conference will be a great success. We have great personalities. I have interacted with Mr. Yoon Kyung, and we are going for a MOU. He has introduced one university. I have already submitted a proposal to Honorable Vice Chancellor for the MOU to be signed with one university. Mr. Yoon Kyung, a good friend of ours in South Korea, is trying his best to have more and more collaboration with Bharati Vidyapit. We have Bernardo Nicoletti again. For the second time, he is participating in the conference. A great person, great professor in management science. Dr. Sonia Birole, thanks to her. We have collaboration with Linnaeus University, Sweden, for the last 5 years, and many more years. We will have faculty and students exchange. Many of their faculty members came to IMD, our faculty went there, students as well. Thanks to Sonia for the initiative. And we have so many such great personalities from different countries. Each one of them has done a great job in their fields, and I'm sure their speeches will be definitely a great feast for all of us. So I just want to tell one thing. The T25 formula of our life. If the life expectancy of a person is 75, the first 25 years of our life we should spend in learning, the next 25 years in earning, and the next 25 years should be spent in returning to the society. So many of us are in that stage that we are returning to the society. We want to see our students grow. We want every country to grow. We want emerging economies to have a lot of investment and to grow. And I'm sure now there is a talk about third wave, but I'm sure with the precautions that have been taken, with the vaccination that is taking place, with Covishield, vaccines, Sputnik, and many other vaccines that are available, and the awareness level, I'm sure we will not have third wave and the SOPs followed. The scenario in India, there was a lot of talk about the scenario, the pandemic, the victims in India in the second wave. But let me tell you, all my foreign friends here, now know the situation is very much good, very, very conducive to visit India. So I invite with Namaste to all my foreign friends to come to Pune. It's a beautiful place. It's Oxford of East. Do visit India. It's a right time to come. And I don't think third wave will come. And by December, it's my prediction, Dr. Sachin Vernika's prediction, by December, I think this pandemic should disappear, will disappear, and we will be able to have all the next conferences, all the conferences face to face in an online mode. With these remarks, I just want to thank each one of you. I am grateful as a person, as a friend, to everybody who accepted our invitation with a very short notice. Dr. Pawan Chaudhary with Kiran Bedi madam, they have written a book. He has contributed a lot. He is a guest professor for IIMs as well. And I had an opportunity with Dr. Pawan Chaudhary, thanks to him, to be the panelist in Doordarshan, and so many other such opportunities I had. And Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Manichrao Salunke, who is a fine-time Vice Chancellor, is because of his support, because of the support and guidance of Honorable Dr. Shivajirao Ji Kadam and Bala Sahib Dr. Vishwajit Ji Kadam. We are able to do a lot. I wanted to speak so many things, but I will not take much of your time, because the next 3 days I have enough time. I will try to speak 2 minutes in every session, so that I will complete my quota as well. So good to see you all smiling. A great smile on every faces in this pandemic. That is the investment, that is the confidence that we are showing, that we are ready as a world. Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, Dr. Shraddha very rightly said, the whole world is one family. So we all as one family today, let us face the new challenges. I welcome you all once again to this international conference to be held on 8, 9 and 10. I'm sure it is going to be a great success. Thank you. Namaste. Stay safe, stay happy.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful start and your best wishes. I think this has energized all of us to take the event ahead. So now, the next thing in line, we have the inauguration of the international conference. I would request Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Manichrao Salunke, sir, to please inaugurate the international conference.
Yeah, you say inaugurated, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I now take the honor to introduce the man of distinct vision, the idol, knowledge, experience, and inspiration for all of us, our Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Manichrao Salunke, sir. Sir has obtained his doctoral degree in organic chemistry from Shivaji University, Kolhapur. He is also selected as a professor at the prestigious Institute of Science at Mumbai, where he became head of the department and then the director. During his tenure, he has received grants for over 15 million from various funding agencies such as the CSIR, the DAE, DBT, UGC, and Icem Pharmaceuticals, USA. Sir has worked as the Vice Chancellor of Shivaji University, Kolhapur, the first Vice Chancellor of Central University of Rajasthan, the Vice Chancellor of ICMOU Open University, Nashik, and the Vice Chancellor of Symbiosis University of Applied Sciences, Indore. Dr. Salunke has 150 research publications and 1 patent to his credit. He has guided 38 doctoral research projects and has presented papers and participated in more than 50 national and international conferences. Sir has an research experience of having worked in the Weizmann Institute of Science, Israel, Institute of Organic Chemistry, University of Vienna, Austria, Northwestern University, USA, and the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. On this note, I would request Salunke sir to please deliver his inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
And I'm sure that the theme of the conference will be discussed at length by the experts invited for this conference. I'll start my lecture with a quote from American political scientist Ian Bremmer. In an emerging market is a country where politics matters at least as much as economics to the market. There are various countries where this stands true. He further says that it's foolish to talk about an ASEAN century or an emerging market century because events move at a pace that renders this degree of durability absolute. If you look at the economics of Nokia, roughly half of the company, half of the business, half of how we think about the business is focused on those emerging markets and those lower priced devices. But of course, the people who are aspirational and buying those lower priced devices today are looking for smartphones tomorrow and so forth. An emerging market that has some characteristics of a developed market, but does not fully meet its standards. These markets that may become developed markets in future. These are national that are investing in more productive capacity. These countries are moving away from the traditional economies, that is economies that relied solely on agriculture and export raw material, is an attempt to have better quality of life for the people. There is generally accepted definition of exactly what emerging markets are and which countries qualified to be. In general, they comprise the countries in the world that have in recent decades progressed from recursive economic system to achieve significantly higher growth rates. The 15 countries most generally included in the list emerging economies are Brazil, Chile, China, Cambodia, Egypt, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mexico, Peru, Philippines, and the Russian Federation, South Africa, Thailand, and Italy. These countries comprise 53% of the world population, and nearly all of them have experienced impressive growth during the past 3 decades. At the core of the emerging markets are the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Together, they comprise 42% of world population and about 27% of global GDP. One of the trend of shaping the global economy, the most important being the rapid and sustained economic growth achieved by emerging market economies. Today, by some measure, at least developing and emerging market economies now account for more than 1/2 of the global economic activity, up substantially from less than 1/3 in 1980. Among the emerging market economies, the ASEAN growth is miracle, is of course the most impressive success story. Case in point are India and China. The economy of Korea, another East Asian success story, has expanded on average at better than 6% annual rate over the past 30 years. More recently, the pace of recovery in most emerging market economies from global financial crisis has been impressive. In the past few decades, the emerging market economies have made significant strides in rising living standards. Hundreds of million people have benefited from this progress, with many millions lifted from poverty. Due to pandemic, several million people in India have been pushed below poverty line. On this background, India needs more emerging markets to recover the economy back on track. Now I will ask few questions. How have the emerging market economies achieved such a strong result in recent decades? The answer is complex, of course, but I can only touch upon the surface of some of these, and I will list few. Domestic and foreign investors are attracted to the higher returns they receive from the investment where the capital is relatively scarce. Developing countries also have the advantage of being able to import and adapt production technologies already in use in advanced economies. Third one, some developing countries, following the principle of liberalization and deregulation, removed controls of the inflows of foreign capital, and foreign investors responded by pouring in funds. Fourth, relying on pivotal role of technology in economic development, productivity had been achieved by adopting state-of-art technologies already developed by advanced economies. However, these countries, such as India, are seeing a major thrust on the use of technology in all spheres of economic development, which is being leveraged upon many industries. India information technology services industry has thrived in large part because of the country's large supply of well-educated English-speaking workers. Thus, the strong educational system producing increasingly skilled workforce have proven crucial for climbing the technological ladder. The fifth point, the many emerging market economies have also harnessed international trade as an engine for technical progress. Openness to trade has allowed these countries to import state-of-art capital goods, and high international competition has increased the efficiency of domestic firms and facilitated the transfer of skill and knowledge. Sixth point, the creative problem solving with limited resources has been the driver of the growth. I would like to emphasize on this particular point. Take the case of India, wherein some have learned to drive more value with limited resources and find creative ways with what one has. I will give an example of Manasukh Prajapati, a potter, has created a frieze mythical made of clay that consumes no electricity and keeps the fruits and vegetables cool for many days. Though a country like Peru receives 1 inch of the rainfall each year, they have giant billboards that convert air humidity into drinking water. Such are frugal innovations. These are the classic cases wherein faced by resource constraint, it is through human engineering they find clear ways to tackle societal problems. There are many examples in emerging market who go with the belief that they are turn adversity into opportunity and in turn something to less value to high value. This I call as a frugal innovation. While GDP and population growth of the region are typical factors that are used to define an emerging market, one should also look at the growing levels of emerging a country has with emerging technology and factors that may uniquely relevant to specific industry. Another factor considered is a political support and policies that led to favorable business conditions. E-commerce in India has recently witnessed surge in growing due to reliance on technology and digitalized transactions. A whole new platform for e-retail has led to investment and creation of many business firms and startups, and hence every business activity rely on social media, big data, technology systems, microfinance, which are opportunities in cash upon Amazon, Flipkart, and Paytm, etc. I will conclude with my lecture with remarks on implications for the future emerging markets. Though there is a recent impressive growth, output per person in the emerging market economy generally remains much lower than in the advanced economies. This fact suggests that the emerging market economies should be able to maintain relatively high growth rates. But over the time, the emerging market countries become wealthier and technologically more sophisticated. They will gradually lose the advantage of starting from behind. Even with continued strong policies, with growth will slow as returns of capital investment diminish and the most profitable opportunity exploited. For example, over time, rising wages in manufacturing may make production and investment in China, other East Asian nations less attractive. Research and environmental constraints may slow economic growth. However, such a slowdown in growth will be inevitable result of progress, the accumulation of successful catching up progress. Despite this all, we know the potential that emerging markets have to offer. We all aware how to reverse innovation and help to fight COVID-19. Reverse innovation here is described as a process whereby highly developed countries have borrowed innovations from relatively less developed countries. The US has borrowed a simple innovation from Asia and Africa in the areas such as testing, contact tracing, and quarantine. At the end, let me quote that all the variety of life is made up of light and shadow. These are Tolstoy's words, which describe so well the world economy today. The good news is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Thus, despite the pandemic and numerous other factors that may deter growth, I'm sure emerging markets will create more innovations, your opportunity to harness upon the sustain and success growth. I end talk with suggestion that the invited experts will give some valuable recommendations based on the deliberations on some pertinent issues which may be provided to concerned government authorities for appropriate action. Wish you the grand success for the conference. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for your words of wisdom, your encouragement and your guidance. It is always a pleasure to listening to you. Taking the event ahead, all the papers that were selected for the conference have been incorporated into a souvenir that is the conference proceedings. We would now have the unveiling or the release of the conference proceedings, and I would request Dr. Bernardo Nicolati to please do the honors. Sir, I request you to please release the conference proceedings.
Bernardo, sir.
Yeah, he's there. Yeah, he's there. Bernardo, sir, can you hear us?
Baljit ma'am, you have to unmute him. He's somebody has muted him.
No, sir. No, sir. We have unmuted him. He has to unmute.
Bernardo, sir, please unmute yourself. This is the releasing of the conference proceedings.
Bernardo, sir, can you hear us?
Yeah, go ahead.
Baljit ma'am, he's not able to unmute.
Yes, it's done.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Shukla, thank you. Thank you, Bernardo, sir. Great.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Our next distinguished guest of honor is Mr. Yoon Kyung Lee. Sir has done his doctorate of engineering from the Pukyong National University.
Busan, South Korea. Sir has also worked, looking at his sir's professional experience, Sir has been working in Wärtsilä Corporation from December 2006 till present, wherein his work profile includes quality inspection for ship engine components, manufacturing audit for Korea and Indian suppliers, internal auditor, supplier development in Asia region, certified supplier management tools and system trainer in Wärtsilä, and certified nuclear auditor in Wärtsilä. Looking into Sir's additional educational background, Sir was into CNC programming certification and operation certificate from Northtown Technical, Toronto, Canada, and he's also a Masters of International Relations from the Pukyong National University, Busan, Korea. I would now like to brief you about Sir's professional certifications. ISO 9001 Lead Auditor, ISO 14001 Lead Auditor, OSA 18001 Lead Auditor by IRCA, Prince 2 Foundation and Prince 2 Practitioner course by Axelos. Sir has also done his Six Sigma Black Belt by KPC and a Master of Process Management by KSA. We are indeed honored to have you here, sir. Please take over.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you very much for your nice introduction.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, sir. We are able to see. Yes, sir.
Okay, so actually, I'm a little bit deeply think about how can I provide some information to viewers, because actually I'm not the professor and I'm not a scholar. I'm an industry guy. So today I would like to share my experience about their emerging market. Okay. This is today contents. The first chapter is already explain about myself, but briefly I explain myself, and then most of your guys don't know about the Wärtsilä groups, so I will introduce Wärtsilä groups briefly. After that, chapter 3 is this emerging. The emerging market based on cooperation between India and Korea in the field of shipbuilding equipment industry. After the final, the question and answer session. Yeah, I would like to skip these chapters. Yeah, I would like to a little bit briefly introduction to Wärtsilä groups. Wärtsilä group established in 1831. It already passed 187 years. Yeah, quite a long time. Okay. Still, can you see my presentation? Okay, and the sale is 4,600 million euro, and the Wärtsilä operates 200 the location in the world, and our employee is 1,718 person, and our employees is like multinationalities, 139 nationalities. This is the orange color is office and workshop, and the production headquarters is located in Helsinki in Finland. This is our 139 nationalities. As you can see, India is number 3. Wow, this means Wärtsilä is very important to Indian market, because the Indian market is explosively increased each years. Today I will introduce briefly our R&D in Wärtsilä. Yeah, around 153 million euro we invested to the R&D, and we have 2,600 patents at the moment. Yeah, this is a full field of R&D we emphasize at the moment. First is the fuel flexibility and the future fuels. Second one is optimizing energy system. Third thing is zero emission maritime. At the moment, this is very crucial point because IMO its regulation is very tight and very high target. So, and the next one is new technology to enable a smart marine ecosystem. We emphasize smart marine ecosystem. This is use only currently available fuels. It is on-board power production is optimized. Also, routes are precision planned to avoid navigational hazards, traffic congestion, and the unexpected waiting times. Yeah, I'm gonna show you one big story about Barjila. Actually, the ship's engine is operating by high fuel oil. After that, recently we're using dual fuel engine, fuel plus gas like LNG. And then what is the next? What is future fuel? So Barjila, we focused on ammonia. So we successfully developed the ammonia engine in the test shop. So from 2024, we are start the testing for the established to the ships and then the operating the test. This is some information about that. As you know, the ammonia is a carbon neutral fuel, so it is no CO2 emission. So this is our Barjila Group's target next fuel and next engines. This is the explain about the Barjila's the gas. We started LNG business since 1965, and the gas recovery business since 1998, and LNG business since 2002. So our Barjila Group has over 50 years of experience on gas handling system. Also include system and processing design, hardware design and manufacture and assembly, etc. This is a market trend and drives. You can see this is a climate changes is a much more the important thing. Yep. As you know, there over 90% of world trade is carried by the ship. And nowadays is a little bit increased because the COVID pandemic situation for air freight is a little bit increased, but almost 90% of the world trade is carried by ship. Yeah, this is an introduction of the Barjila Korea, but we started in 1975, the license agreement with the Hyundai HHI. So at the moment, Barjila Korea has 253 employees, and then include 120 the qualified engineer. So main office located in Busan here, and we have also the office in Seoul area. Yeah, this is the lineup of business in Barjila Korea. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. Yep. So this is today's main topic from my side. So emerging market based on cooperation between India and Korea in the field of shipbuilding equipment industry. The Alvarez groups already we start the supply development with the Indian supplier. This is I show you some samples. Actually, we start developing new supplier in India since 2007. First one is a cylinder liner. They work with the Cooper Corporation located in Satra. And the lubrication oil pump with the Lakshmi Drunken located in Solapur. And the propulsion part with the Bvdu India Precision Products located in Pune. And the more components are expected to be sourced in India in the future. Yeah, and I think very positively. So next one is the possibility of cooperation between Korean and Indian company in the shipbuilding equipment industry. The shipbuilding industry is a comprehensive facility industry with about 20,000 parts installed. It means each ship should be assembled to over 20,000 parts. Also, as you know, South Korea is the world #1 shipbuilding powerhouse. And then orders have been extremely increased since 2021. As you can see, the order volume, the first half of 2020, last year, just 1.35 million CGT. CGT means compensate gross tonnage is one of the unit of weight calculation. But this year, first half of 2021, 10.47 billion, about 7 times increased compared to last year. Also, material industry, for example, casting and forging and heat treatment, surface treatment industry is very positive, I think. Also machining and equipment, for example, electric parts such as motors, also very positive, I think. And the next one, this is a real cooperation case between Indian and Korean companies. I deeply involved these samples, the cooperation case. First one is hydraulic blocks. It's a Lakshmi in the Indian side and High SJ in Korean side. They started business from 2018, from the casting and the machining. But it was a very successful story at the moment. And the second case is a lubrication oil pump part. It also, the Indian side is Lakshmi. And the jail precision machining company in Korean side, they start their business from 2019. It also very successful story. So nowadays cooperation is very tight, and then their order volume is increased every year. Next one is a stainless flange for industrial piping system. It also involved the Lakshmi in Indian side and DMIC in Korean side. This business is currently reviewing the business feasibility. But I think from next month, they will start the business, I think. And then more cooperation is expected after the COVID-19 pandemic to finish. Okay, this is the future plan. that means include my future plan also. The first one, the promoting exchange between university in Korea and India. Already Mr. Sachin explained briefly. So Bvdu in India side and Dongyun University in Korean side, they are now the study about the corporationships. Also, Bvdu and Bugyeong National University also they are the think about the cooperation ways. Also, second
Yes,
one
sir.
is establishment of the industry and academic research system ranking universities such as Bvdu and Dong University and Bugyeong National University and industries in Korea and India. Because the Bvdu basically located in Pune area, I heard. Dong University and Bugyeong National University located in Busan City. Busan City is one of the industrial city in Korea. This is very positive, I think. And establishment of the cooperation system between companies through the Chamber of Commerce of both countries. For example, between Pune City and Busan or Ulsan City. Ulsan is very close to Busan. It takes around 40 minutes by car. Ulsan is one of the biggest industrial city in Korea. Which city has like Hyundai Motors, Hyundai Heavy Industry, and many chemical like SK that belongs to in Busan City. So this is the how can say this very positive things from my side. So I think after finish this COVID-19 situation, so I will support the Bvdu and then the Korean University and Chambers of Commerce or something like that. I will support this project deeply.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all my presentation.
Thank you. It's a really great presentation. And Yongkyung, well, let us take forward our MOU.
Yes.
Bvdu, that is Bharati Vidyapeeth deemed to be university. Our Vice Chancellor, sir, is very much listening to you. We have already forwarded the MOU to him, and we are hopeful that we'll take it forward. And it's a great initiative by you in this connection, South Korea, India cooperation. And we are glad our university and our Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship Development, Pune, which is ranked in top 75 business schools in India, is part of it. Great. Nice speech. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your vast experience in the shipping industry and the cooperation between India and Korea in this field. We are indeed honored to have you here, sir. Thank you very much for the interesting session. Our next guest of honor is Dr. Sonia Belore from Sweden. Ma'am has done her PhD in marketing management from the Keon University, Japan. Currently, she is a program head, master's program in innovation through business engineering and design, and the coordinator for marketing specialization. Sonia ma'am is also the member of the internationalization committee from the Linnaeus University and is a founder member of the LNU group. Currently, Dr. Sonia Belore is a senior lecturer, Department of Marketing, School of Business Economics at the Linnaeus University, Sweden. I request you, ma'am, to please take over. Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Kurjekar.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you, Imed, for your kind invitation to be part of your conference, International Conference on Emerging Markets. It's for me personally, being part of the Imed collaboration now for the last 5 years, always a pleasure to interact with you, to interact with your guests, and to contribute in some way or the other, whatever I can through my academic role, through my research role, and of course, to interact with your entire student community. Today on this conference, on the International Conference on Emerging Markets, Trends, Challenges, and Opportunities, it was somewhat of a challenge for me to decide what exactly should I speak on, because this is such a dynamic field, this is such a strong field, And there are so many issues, so many challenges that we are looking into, even in terms of research, even in terms of an observation regarding the evolution, the development, the constraints, the barriers that society faces every day, people from the emerging markets face every day. And there are so much works going on from national and international bodies on how things can be made better in terms of the relationship that the emerging markets have with the countries all over the world. So I would, in this context, like to draw attention to the global goals of sustainability and the role of the emerging markets in making a valuable contribution to whatever extent is possible in the achievement of a sustainable environment. Now, again, when we talk about a sustainable environment or when we talk about the global goals of sustainability, there are so many issues, of course, and it would take a lot of time, in fact, if I have to go into them and talk about them. So for this particular conference, I decided to talk, especially in the context of culture and cultural development in the society around us. Now, if we have to kind of think a bit about sustainable development, what is sustainable development? And there are so many definitions, of course, around it. But if we keep it in a very simple context, sustainable development is defined as progress that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. There is a lot of meaning in this simple two lines, where sustainable development, therefore, is posited as a bridge between what is happening in the present, what has happened in the past, and how all of these two, the past and the present, can be can join forces in order to protect the future generations in such a way that the needs of all of these different cohorts can be recognized, can be appreciated, and can be understood. Now, this entire philosophy of sustainable development is also in a, if you look into the reports and if you look into the research and if you look into the details of what sustainable philosophy is mainly supported by three pillars: economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental balance. But if we have to talk about these three pillars, economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental balance, especially in the terms of the role of emerging markets, all of these pillars can be seen as something that require close scrutiny. They need a closer evaluation, a re-evaluation, and further adjustments within the emerging economy context in order to meet these sustainable development goals. And as a student body, as an institutional body, I think one of the credible ways we can contribute is by reading about the Sustainable Development Goals, by understanding them, and by following the Sustainable Development Goal mission, of course, and the principal components of Agenda 2030, which are being brought into focus increasingly every day with whatever discussions happen around what can be done in the context of emerging economies, not only to improve the context within emerging economies, but also as what emerging economies can do to contribute in this global mission of development. In recent years, apart from the three pillars that I mentioned before, economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental balance, a fourth pillar to sustainability has been introduced. And that fourth pillar is identified as culture. Culture ultimately shapes what we mean by development. and it determines how people act in the world. And it is dynamic. It is sometimes very subjective. It is influenced by years and years of evolution. It is influenced by change. It is influenced by peer influences, things that we see around us. And as we heard some of our speakers speaking, there is a constant change. There's a constant development. Therefore, you see that culture and sustainable development have a very deep relationship. Whatever changes in the context of a country is going to make a strong change in the culture imminent in that country. And this change together is going to manifest in various sustainable development initiatives, programs, research works, collaborations, and even cross-cultural or interdisciplinary work that can happen within culture and cultural development. I personally feel, as a researcher in this context of culture, cultural development, and emerging economies, that there is a lot to do, especially for emerging markets. And I'm trying to go forward here and trying to put a few points that may be of use to the listeners on this conference today. So when we talk about a new approach in culture and how it can be appreciated by emerging economies or people within emerging economies, what are we talking about? We are talking about mainly two things. Number one, the development of the cultural sector itself. And what does the cultural sector mean? The cultural sector mainly points out to all businesses, entrepreneurial firms, maybe small and medium enterprises, micro enterprises, large enterprises that are involved with heritage, creativity, cultural industries, crafts, cultural tourism, etc., etc. Second, we need to ensure as a society, and more so as a society from an emerging country, that culture has its rightful place in all the public policies, particularly those which are related to education, to the economic development, to scientific development, to communication, to environmental development, to social cohesion, and international cooperation. The world is not only facing social, economic, or environmental changes. You also see that there is a lot of creativity, knowledge sharing, diversity, and aestheticism that are unavoidable bases for dialogue in peace and progress. And these values are intrinsically connected to human development and freedom. So while we have a duty to promote the continuity of indigenous local cultures, old traditions, meeting new creative initiatives every
Sonia ma'am, we are not able to hear you. Yes, yeah.
Let us wait for her.
Yeah.
Dr. Sonia, I think there is some connectivity issue.
Incoming call facility is temporary.
पंख्याचा आवाज खूप येतो. पंख्याचा आवाज AC लावलं नाही का?
Okay, by the time I think Dr. Sonia joins, Dr. Baljit, I think some connectivity issues there from that side. Say joined. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yes, Surya madam.
I request the participants to please bear with us. Ma'am is facing some technical issues. She's joining back again in a moment.
Can you hear me? Okay, but I don't know until when you heard me.
Last minute.
Last 1 minute.
Okay, just last 1 minute. Okay, okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. So I was talking about if I go back to where I was in my notes, I was talking about the two main approaches in terms of culture preservation. And the first thing that I talked about quickly was the development of the cultural sector itself, where we talked about international heritage, creativity, culture industries, craft, cultural tourism. And the second one was, the more important one was to ensure that culture has its rightful place in all public policies, particularly those related to education, communication, environmental development, social cohesion, and international cooperation. And we need to, if I have to quickly go through some of the things that I said in the last 1 minute, is that while we have a duty to promote the continuity of our indigenous local cultures and old traditions, we also need to think about a plan to preserve identity and diversity. And this means that we need to kind of focus on an intercultural dialogue. Uh, Remember that intercultural dialogue somehow has been identified as humankind's biggest challenge. And there is a lot of creativity that is needed in order to keep this intercultural dialogue alive between different cohorts in human society. Dr. Salunke, in his inaugural speech, gave us a wonderful perspective on what emerging markets mean in terms of their presence, their economic and social and developmental issues, related recovery, especially in terms of a creative, collaborative, and an innovative approach. And I think what he said about these issues within emerging markets apply indeed very well to the social, to this cultural context that I'm talking about, and what we should do as an emerging economy in this arena. So the question then is, what can we do as emerging nations in the context of a culture-based economy from an institutional perspective? If we have to think about it as an institution, what should we think about? I would propose three things. One, examine the role of local governments for safeguarding culture for the present and future generations. Second, affirm or ensure that the culture and all its diversity has been identified and that we are able to respond to the current challenges of humankind related to diversity and cultural inclusion. And thirdly, we need to examine the role of consumers in safeguarding culture and cultural industries. I mean, if we apply this specifically to India as an emerging economy, we all know that India is a landscape dense with culture of all kinds, whether it is built heritage, traditional practice-based heritage, philosophical heritage, etc. However, we also know that we are plagued with a lot of issues that we tend to forget, and sometimes we need to prioritize our problematic issues and our problematic contexts. But what we essentially forget a number of times is the Indian culture. We completely forget that the Indian culture is one of our most essential elements. And that is kind of a red thread that binds the country, its unique, diverse nature, yet giving it an inclusive personality. For example, when I visit in Pune or other
तो मैं एक काम कर रहा था नेक्स्ट स्पीकर क्या
Sonia ma'am, I think, has got disconnected again.
Sonia madam, I think there is some technical issue. If you allow, we will have the next speaker, because he has given time up to 11:50 for himself. So Dr. Pawan Chaudhary, please be taken.
Yeah, I would just propose a vote of thanks for Sonia ma'am. Ma'am has shared her thoughts on sustainable development, which is the need of the hour. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the insights. We now have our next distinguished guest, Mr. Pawan Chaudhary. Sir is the managing director of Vigon, a leading French multinational in the field of healthcare. He's also the author of a few bestsellers like The RX Factor and How a Good Person Can Really Win, which he has co-authored with Dr. Kiran Bedi, the Lieutenant Governor of Pondicherry, and Mr. Anil Shastri, the ex-Union Finance Minister. He's also done a column with the Times of India and currently writes for First Post and is a TV host for Hum Aise Kyun Hai, where he takes up several healthcare issues. Two areas in healthcare which are especially close to his heart are patient safety and quality in healthcare and safe neonatal vascular access. Sir is also the recipient of a few awards like the Intellectual Icon of the Year Award, the Business Excellence Award, and the Eric Hoffler Award. Sir is on the prestigious advisory boards of Medical Technology Association of India, the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Memorial Trust, Bharatiya Videshi Niti Parishad, to name a few. Today, sir, we request you to speak on how do pandemics shape the business and markets and lessons from the emerging markets.
Pawan Chaudhary, sir.
Camera on mic.
Ah, yes, he's there. He's joining.
Mr. Pawan Chaudhary is joining us in a while. Thank you, sir.
Ah, बोलिए sir.
Yes. So, hello everybody.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
And it is a pleasure to be always with Dr. Sachin Verdekar. One not only feels energized, but also heart-warmed. And thank you, Dr. Salunke, and all your colleagues for having me here. Coming straight to the topic, how do pandemics shape businesses and markets? So if I was to look at Black Death, let us go some centuries back. 5 centuries back, we saw Black Death. It brought a demographic correction. Lot of farmers died. So their importance went up because their numbers went down. And the power structure between the feudal lords and the farmers was, I mean, it was changed. Sorry, there is a little bit of a interruption coming here. The cash crops came in because earlier people were only growing grains because there were so many mouths to feed, but now the number of mouths to feed got reduced. So cash crops came in. Italian banking methods spread throughout Europe. Conspicuous consumption was frowned upon. Even the height of the heels of the sandals of women, it was very clearly prescribed. It cannot be more than a particular height. Products which were used in glazed utensil, etc., like lead, they were frowned upon. That consumption was frowned upon. So you see how the pandemic is shaping the social structure also and market also. Then came other pandemics, and by then a dubious scientific theory had taken grip of human imagination. That was the miasma theory, which said that pandemics arise because of some toxic fumes which come from the soil. So this led to a very strong development for the construction sector, because thousands of kilometers of earth was paved with flagstones, cemented with flagstones, so that those so-called imagined vapors could not come out. That is why when you go to Europe, you see all those roads paved with flagstones. Then came the rat. So the rat, when the rat was discovered as the reason for bubonic plague, again thresholds of houses changed, thousands of patents for rat trapping devices, etc. came. Then slowly man started understanding it is not because of fumes or rats alone. Fumes, of course, not, and rats is one reason. They understood that the pandemic is coming because of microbes. So you see the powder rooms in your homes, they came because of this understanding, because boys were coming to your home to deliver coal daily. So they had to be washed and dried in the powder room, which is right at the doorstep, and they left from there only. You come closer during this Spanish flu, again the understanding was improving. So we saw the use of masks. Nurses, because nurses stayed with the patient, but doctors often were not so courageous. They went up in power structure. They did not capitalize on it. Otherwise, nurses would have formed a very big industry. But their power went into channelizing votes for women. So adult suffrage, universal suffrage for women came. More recently, SARS came, and SARS changed or gave a strong impetus to online shopping. So pandemics in general, they create a chaos. And chaos is also a ladder in business. Many people climb this ladder and they start doing better. Of course, some businesses collapse also. So tourism, aviation, oil, hospitality, these businesses have gone down. These businesses have gone down for real reason. Some businesses also go down for imagined reasons. Like poultry went down in India. Newspaper went down. These were imagined reasons. These were because of fake news. They went down. But some are climbing. Healthcare, medical devices, telecom, online gaming, entertainment, hygiene and personal care, or hygiene goods, e-commerce and so on are actually going up. In this pandemic, there were two lifelines for business, which were not there in earlier pandemic of Spanish flu. One was the refrigerator. Because of the refrigerator, we stocked our goods. We stocked groceries. I remember when the pandemic first struck in March 2020, my wife told me that I have enough eggs now. I said, how many you have? She says, in my fridge there are 140 eggs lying. We have bought enough stock. So I made, sitting in a humorous mood, I made a little couplet sitting on the dining table. I said, संडे हो या मंडे अब रोज खाओ अंडे 140 पड़े हैं फ्रिज में हो रहे हैं ठंडे, which means Now we will have eggs only. Now we have 140 lying in our refrigerator. The point is, refrigerator was a very big lifeline. The other lifeline was online entertainment, online news, etc., which was not there earlier. So pandemics also changed the way of working. Since Adam Smith came, he brought in a theory and then industrialization came. And because the factories needed people from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening for their first shift, the offices also started operating at that time. For 2 centuries, this pattern did not change. But now, this pandemic shook this pattern. It asked why a service industry has to work from 9 to 5. It asked why so many other industries which actually do not need an office to work, why do they need to work from, why can't they work from home? So these are many of the ways in which pandemics are changing businesses and markets. Pandemics are also changing geopolitics. What Dr. Sonia spoke of, sustainability. This sustainability is a function of energy security, greater reliance on science. Understanding a problem is coming. A problem which will have to be collectively managed when the borders of countries are becoming more sharper. People are trying to get into smaller groupings or stand alone because they are realizing that this crisis is coming and this crisis is actually straining our cooperative fabric. Emerging markets will need to understand all this change that is coming. They will need to understand that globalization, or maybe a smart globalization, will happen. That means there will be a surface of global supply chains and with enough room for local politics and local economics to stress indigenization. And what was offshoring from anywhere might change to friendshoring. We might start buying from friendly countries. So these are also important areas which emerging markets or emerging countries have to look at. And we have to also understand that at this time, the countries need to ensure that there is greater peace in their neighborhoods. A very belligerent border will constrain your resources which are required to develop the country. They will start going into defense, etc. And our leaders are already cognizant of this fact, and I'm sure will try to move in this hostile environment in such a manner that this acrimony can be reduced over time. The pecking order of nations will change. So market access, tariff barriers, etc. are going to emerge. For emerging companies to stay on the up track, they will need to do much more now. It will not, because countries will become more selfish and more concerned about their own populations. It is not only America first. It will very soon be Europe first, China first, India first. Everybody will be more and more on his own. So the market interlinkages have to be so kept that this greater individualism doesn't affect your production, it doesn't affect your prices, it doesn't affect your exchange rate adversely, etc. So these are my top of the mind thoughts on how the pandemics are, how pandemics change businesses and markets, and what should emerging markets do in addition to what my other very esteemed speakers have spoken. And I wanted to be here for as long as possible, but I will have a hard stop now. But I will surely listen to the other speakers and get enlightened from what they had to say. Thank you very much, Sonia, and thank you very much, Mr. Jung, and great pleasure knowing you all, Dr. Sonia and Dr. Bernardo, and everybody else I have met through this fantastic of my offered by a friend of mine who I really admire for how he conducts his professional life, his family life, his social life in such a balanced manner. Really great to be here with all of you and with him. Dr. Verdekar.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Pawanji. Really great listening to you after a long time. And we'll be troubling you more and more now in the next year.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Pawan Chaudhary, sir. Yeah, you very in a very simple manner you explained the effect of pandemic on business, and I think we could relate to whatever you have said. The two lifelines, as rightly said, were refrigerator and online. Everybody will agree with me on that. Thank you so much. I would like to tell the audience that now we have our next keynote speaker, Dr. Bernardo, and then we'll have a short session by Dr. Sonia Bellore because unfortunately she had discontinued because of network issues. So let me take the honor of introducing Dr. Bernardo Nicolati.
Madam, we also have Mr. Jenkins from Australia. He has also joined. Welcome, Jenkins, sir.
Yeah, welcome, sir. Dr. Bernardo is a consultant and coach expert in improvement of processes using Lean Six Sigma and digitization. Sir has demonstrated expertise in few areas like agile and digitized enterprises, Lean Six Sigma quality, operational and procurement excellence, business integration and de-integration, cost reduction, migration and consolidation of information systems. Few of Sir's specialties include a long experience in lean production, lean manufacturing, and lean services, especially in the financial world. Dr. Bernardo is an expert in financial service systems and procurement and is a certified innovation manager. Sir is also featured in the book, The Future of FinTech, Integrating Finance. We are honored to have you here, sir. Over to you, Professor Bernardo Nicolati.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much. I would like to continue along the line that Professor Chaudhary before started. Professor Chaudhary was talking about the effect of a pandemic on the society in general and on the individuals in particular. I'm particularly interested in understanding from a management, from an organizational point of view, what would be the effect of the pandemic, and which very likely I hear to say, on this respect, the objective of my short presentation will be to understand the change with the new normal. We are really talking about a new normal, which is very important, and we must take into account these characteristics. I will talk very much about how business models are changing. I don't think that I will have time to talk about the digital transformation, but certainly I do want to stress how business models are changing due to the pandemic. Let me start saying that one of the change which is taking place in the critical success factors. In the past, quality and cost were considered the most important critical success factors for companies, for organizations active in the market. Cost, particularly the big push in reduction cost, and at the same time to increase the quality. The critical success factors are changing. From a practical point of view, resilience is becoming much important because, as you can imagine, it is important for the company to be able to survive in a situation where the environment is changing, the pandemic is impacting on the life of the individuals of the company. So on this aspect, I mean, but resilience is becoming certainly one of the critical success factors, but also speed, because I mean, in the new situation, the importance of being able to act as fast as possible. And at the same time, there's much more concern about ESG, the environment, the sustainability, the governance. So as you can see, I mean, also in terms of the critical success factors, this situation is changing. It's changing globally and it's changing also in the emerging market. On the other side, I mean, let's try to focus even more in the company, where, in my opinion, 5 factors are changing in a dramatic way. And I call them the 5 Ps: pandemic, processes, person, partners, and platform. Let's see how each one of them is changing due to the pandemic. Well, first of all, they are changing the processes. What is happening is that from the old supply chain, we are moving to something which is rather different, which I call value network. From supply to the importance of adding value to the customer, from a chain to a network. Let me try to clarify a little bit better what I mean with the network. That was the old chain, the supply chain in particular. And if you look at it, yeah, you can see a chain. But now the situation is completely changing. Not anymore a chain. The supply chain is becoming much more a network with the company, with the partners, with the supplier, which are interacting in different phases of the supply cycle. So on this aspect, and of course, I mean, some of them are just disappearing, or some other are appearing. So one of the first aspect which is changing dramatically is moving from the linear supply chain to a digital value network. On the other side, also from the point of view of the ecosystem, it is much more important now to interact with the partners in a business ecosystem. The ecosystem is global. Take into account that for one of the characteristics that you will see, distance is becoming much less important than in the past. I mean, also the relationship with the supplier, with the partners, with the other, more and more the companies from negotiating relationship with the partners are becoming coordinators of an ecosystem. Coordinators, which means essentially that the function in the organization, and especially the procurement, which before was essentially buying from outside, taking at a distance the supplier, now must become a coordinator in this new value network, which is much more complex to manage. So that is another change which is important, from a supply chain to an ecosystem. On the other side, is a change in the platform, in the IT system, and especially in Europe, but also all around the world. Industry 4.0 is becoming important. What is for digital systems are becoming much important to the processes, and especially Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is a real revolution, industrial revolution. That is the reason why it's called 4.0. After the first 3 industrial revolutions connected with the engine, the electricity, and the computer. But now it's becoming a new situation where the traditional IT system, which were essentially devoted to the back office activity, to the offices, now they are merging and being connected with the automation of the plant in such a way that it is possible to have an integrated network inside the company this time, not anymore outside the company, but inside the company between the IT system which are running for the offices with the automation which is working in the job shop for the operation technology. This merge is impacting once again, and it's becoming much more complex to manage. On the other side, there are change also in the person. And I underline the word person because more and more the person which are working in the company are not only people, but they're becoming more and more robot. Robot, which in the case of manufacturing are physical robot, which do a certain number of activities of operation, but also in the service organization like banks, insurance, and other service organization. This is the robotic process automation, virtual robot, software robot, which can do quite a bit in a relatively fast and efficient way. This change in the person, of course, puts a new challenge, and the new challenge is to design, to organize the collaboration between humans and robots. There not be in the future only robots, as somebody is planning, not only people as it was in the past, but more and more it is necessary to coordinate the human and the robots. Robotic process automation is one of the most interesting development, and it's going around the world. I mean, and it's becoming more and more relevant. And finally, there are the other two aspects of the change in the pandemic connected with the resilience, what I mentioned before, moving from the concept of just in time. You know, that the idea is that the raw material, the components must be available just in time for the production. Now, in this situation with the disruption which can happen in any moment, it becomes just in case. In case there is a disruption, what are we going to do? How we are feeding our supply chain, our value network in such a way that it can continue to produce. I mean, in this new situation, there will be a new normal and a new way to organize the business. I don't want to go into the detail. I want just to underline some of the post-pandemic change which we are seeing happening around the world. The challenge now becomes the availability of the resources whenever it's necessary. And with the type of characteristics which are different in the past. We have seen shortages of raw materials, for instance, and components, chips, for instance, which are putting in trouble the auto industry, for instance. But there are also opportunities. They are not only challenge. Opportunities, importance of increasing in procurement, and especially delivery of health and pharmaceutical products. Also, in terms of e-commerce, is becoming much more important, which is gives us the opportunity to increase the market share, and of course, the delivery becomes much more important. The delivery to the end customer in such a way that it will get his or her good as soon as possible. Remote working, remoteness, this is another thing that will change. I remember when some years ago people were talking about, for instance, a business model of on-site, and they were talking about the US, they were talking about Europe, they were talking about China, and offshore, and they were talking about people in India, for instance, or in North Africa, or whatever. This model of on-site, offshore is disappearing because now it's on-site and off-site. And then it becomes much less important if it's in India rather than in Tunisia, rather than in France or whatever. This model of the offshore disappear as a concept. Now it is becoming on-site and off-site with enormous opportunities for emerging economies, especially in the field of services. And there's the acceleration, the fast pace that I mentioned before. And cloud computing is much more important because in that situation, we don't want to rely anymore with on-premise processing by the computer, but we want to move our application more and more in the cloud. And finally, robots and automation, I already mentioned before, there is the challenge of the robot-human collaboration, this working together, which will be a challenge in the next few years, and it will be all over the world, especially because the humans might be off-site and the virtual robot could be in the cloud. So in that situation, the integration of the two will become a real challenge. But I think that we have done good, I would say, in this, in terms of the pandemic, with some exceptional development, and I'm sure that we will continue in this way. These kind of meetings are wonderful because they give the opportunity to exchange ideas, to understand the idea of the other people in other parts of the world in this concept of the on-site, off-site, that, as I said before, will become more and more the model in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bernardo. Your insights about the post-pandemic changes, and you've shared the critical success factors, how they are changing, and the importance of resilience and ESG in the post-pandemic period. And I think the highlight of your presentation was the post-pandemic changes in management, which was the important takeaway for all of us. Thank you so much, sir.
Bernardo, sir, really great to listen to you again. And we are very much thankful to you for spending your valuable time. Bernardo, sir. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Anita as well. Anita, madam, welcome. And we have Mr. Jenkins, please welcome. Jenkins, sir. Thank you. Yeah, over to Khurjekar.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I would request Dr. Sonia ma'am to please take over a session, as she had to discontinue because of technical issues. Over to you, Sonia ma'am.
Yeah, your concluding remarks, everyone would like to listen. Because of the technical issues, they could not listen to you. Hope everything fine there now, Sonia madam. Unmute yourself.
Thank you, Khurjekar ma'am. Thank you, Bernikar sir. This is unfortunately a very bad day today in terms of the connectivity. But I just want to wrap up my conversation with all of you, and if and the focus was the emerging markets and the cultural industries, the cultural economy. And I was only going to drive finally into two perspectives, the institutional perspective and the personal perspective as consumers. So from an institutional perspective, I think there are some key questions that need to be asked. As a university and as an educational institution, how much attention are we paying into the protection and the development of a culture-based economy and cultural entrepreneurship? How many issues of these kind are discussed in our student theses and our research works, for example? How many funds and initiatives do we design to protect this sector and join hands with cultural entrepreneurship? More so from a personal perspective, from a consumer perspective, you see that in the modern world, there are these binaries that are functioning all the time. Conscious consumption, conspicuous consumption, responsible consumption, irresponsible consumption, stewardship, ownership, and a kind of a responsibility towards a certain issue at hand. So these are again some things that we need to ask ourselves. Do we understand the cultural richness around us? Whether it's in our local locality or in our town or in our country, do we as consumers have paid any attention to cultural entrepreneurship and participated in any way to ensure its sustainability? So I think this is quickly that some of the last points that remain from my little interaction with you about giving attention to cultural entrepreneurship, in the sense that otherwise it's going to be a lost field. We have so many things to think about, especially in the context of an emerging economy, that it's very easy to forget our tradition, our past, our heritage, but it is also an important part of our life that is going to ensure our development and our step forward as an emerging economy. So that is what I wanted to talk about this finally, in the sense that culture can easily be forgotten and can easily be deprioritized. But we need to keep a track of it. We need to ensure that we have the right policies, the right facilities, the right resources, and really make it an important aspect of development for emerging economies in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah. Thank you, Sonia ma'am. I would, with this, I would request Professor Dr. Shyam Shukla to please propose the vote of thanks for the inaugural session.
Just to inform all of you, immediately after the vote of thanks, we are going to start with the next session, plenary session. All the guests, all the Dr. Oak, Anita, as well as that's third speaker, Devika, they're all present here. So immediately after the vote of thanks, we'll start with this.
Good afternoon, everyone. And it is a great pleasure to propose a formal vote of thanks at this occasion of International Conference on Emerging Markets. So it has been a well beginning, and the foundations have been laid down by our Honorable Dean and Director, Dr. Sachin Varnekar, sir. And after that, then Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Manik Rao Ji Salunke. Sir, he has rightly said, he told about the characteristics of the emerging markets. The markets which are developed, but they are not having all the characteristics of the developed market. So he described about that, which are the, he named the countries. There are so many countries which are the emerging markets. Then he also spoke about the frontier markets, the markets which are developed, and we are having many luminaries from the frontier markets, like Dr. Bernardo and Dr. Sonia from Sweden. So we have the leaders from the developed as well as the developing, so emerging as well as the frontier markets. Also, when we look up about the 3G countries, when we are talking about 3G countries, that again our Honorable Vice Chancellor has mentioned those countries which are having the global growth and governance, that these are the 3Gs. So even the South Korea and the India and Brazil, and there are around 30 countries which are coming into the 3G countries. So that was also pointed out by him. So we are thankful to Honorable Vice Chancellor, who has given, he said, the foundation of this conference, of International Conference on Emerging Markets. Then after that, then we had we heard the Mr. Yoon Kung Ho of South Korea. South Korea being the one of the emerging markets, then he has given the live examples of that, how the collaboration between the India and South Korea, industrial collaboration as well as the academic collaboration has been done. Dr. Sonia Bilore has again spoken about the sustainability of the markets, because then this is the time when the Peter Drucker framed the diamond model and also the 5 forces model. So that time he would have not considered the sustainability model. And now the Dr. Sonia Bilore has very well said the sustainability has to be taken account of at the top. Then Dr. Bernardo Nicoletti, he spoke about the supply chain. He has also again repeated the words of Dr. Sonia Bilore in as he is talking about the ESG, that's the environment, sustainability and the governance, which is the top most requirement of the day. Then we also heard Mr. Pawan Chowdhury. So Pawan Chowdhury has again given the Indian perspective, that how the things are changing with the pandemics and what we need to do. Then we are thankful to our the Dean and Director, who has again appreciated the efforts done by the All India Institute of Technical Education, which is a statutory body of Ministry of HRD and also the Government of India. So he has appreciated there, because we got the funds from them and their initiative to bring all the emerging countries together. We are also having the Jenkins, Dr. Jenkins, who are here, Dr. Veena Nandi, and there are many other prominent speakers who are present. So we are thankful to them also, Dr. Jan Oak and Dr. Guru, who is here, also Dr. Anita, and there are many who are present at this. We are thankful to them. We are thankful to Dr. Shraddha Varnekar, who is coordinating this event, and also my whole team. That is, if I name it in short, Mr. Deepak Navalgon, Dr. Sonali Khotikar, Dr. Bajit Kaur, Dr. Bharti, Dr. Mirji, Dr. Dikshit, Dr. Pramod Kaur, Dr. Jain, Dr. Ranpreet Kaur, Dr. Mahadik, and Dr. Swati Desai. So my whole team, they have working for last 2 months, and then they have brought this program in front of you. And
thank you, Dr. Shukla. I think
yeah.
now it's time for a group photograph.
Yes, sir. 1 second. I will take
about the success.
Sir,
We will have a group photograph now by Dr. Bharti. Over to you, please. Thank you, Dr. Shukla.
Sir, 1 second. I'll take only 1 second.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last 3 words of Bhagavad Gita, that is Lokna Sukhina Bhavantu. So I wish that all the leaders who have assembled today, so they should give the advice and the how the world can be happy. So with these words, I will end up. Thank you so much all for giving me this time.
Yeah, you're also part of the group photo now, Dr. Shukla.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Well done, Dr. Shukla, Dr. Shraddha, and the entire team that you just took the names of. So all of you please join for the group photograph here. Put on your camera and join. Yeah, we have 2 seconds. All are invited, all attendees and everybody can join. And next 1 minute, we are going to start with the next plenary session. Yeah, for such a big conference with 500 plus participants, from our side, we mute everybody, both their camera and all that. That is one of the reasons that some people take time to join back.
Thank you for the nice photograph.
Thank you.
Now, without wasting time, I would like to continue the second part of this session, which is the plenary session. So I welcome all of you for this plenary session. So we have Mr. Jayant Oak as the chairman for this plenary session today. And then we have Ms. Anita and Ms. Devika for this session. And then we are going to break for the lunch. So let us begin this plenary session. Let me introduce first the chairman, Mr. Jayant Oak. Sir is a government merit scholar who has done his master's in both economics and management. He has also studied postgraduate diploma in taxation laws and postgraduate diploma in computer application and system analysis. Professor Oak has presented programs for the UGC countrywide classroom on India's national TV network Doordarshan. He is the recipient of the Achievers 2012 award by the University of Pune. He has banking experience of 15 years with the State Bank Group. He was instrumental in bringing out MIS compendium for the bank's operations during the 70s. Professor Oak, sir, has associated with management education since 93-94 as a visiting faculty and is a recognized postgraduate teacher for management course of Pune University. He has worked on 4 foundation-funded projects on good governance for a few government departments. He has been resource person for a number of FDP conducted by the UGC, AICTE, and DTE. He has also presented many papers in national and international conferences and has authored few books. Professor Oak is currently associated as a visiting faculty with number of management institutes in Pune, like Symbiosis, Dr. V.K. Patil, Pumba, and Imed. He has vast experience in corporate training and consultancy at the senior management level. Now, I welcome, sir, and I request you to take the charge, sir. Jayant, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bharti, and welcome my panel members, Dr. Anita and Devika. These kind of conferences, because of technical snags, we are slightly overshot the timing, but I will not overshoot the timing. Let me start straight away. We'll be talking more about the pandemic and its impact from the macro perspective as regards the emerging markets. As we know, the world economy has really decelerated and it has had its negative impact also. We are actually facing what we used to study about known as VUCA, the environment which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's a consensus that the economy of the world and the world economy has decelerated, but Before I move further, as one of my panel members, Dr. Anita, had some other engagement which she will like to move on. Before I say anything further, I would request Dr. Anita to please share her opinions and her comments before we move further. Dr. Anita, please. Bharti ma'am, can you pass it on to Dr. Anita?
Yes. Before Mr. Anita starts, let me introduce her in a brief. May I, ma'am?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Please.
Yeah. So we have Ms. Anita Shmiska. She is experienced MBA program director with a demonstrated history of working in her higher education and business, skilled in management, market research, public relations, media relations, corporate communications, corporate social responsibility, employer branding, event management, and media relations and translation. Strong professional with MBA and PhD focused in company management, economics, and public relations from University of Economics in Waterloo. May I request you, ma'am, to continue this session ahead?
Yes, thank you very much for this brief introduction. I am very honored to be able to be the key speaker at such an honorable conference. So I would like to welcome everyone and introduce the topic of my speech, which is going to be emerging market prospects in Poland and Eastern Europe. I would like to start with setting the background of what I'm going to talk about. As Winston Churchill famously remarked, an iron curtain descended across Europe after the World War II. In 1989, when that iron curtain collapsed, the countries behind it started their transition to free market economies. Some are still continuing this process, while others, like Slovenia or the Czech Republic, are as developed as Western Europe. Others, like Poland recently, have been included in the group of 25 most developed markets globally. Yet, 3 decades after the transformation began, all people of Eastern Europe still have the experience of living under communism in their collective memory, regardless of how developed their economy is. They also, in a way, find it difficult to come to terms with what to call this region they originate from: Eastern Europe, Eastern Bloc, or post-communist countries. Well, we can pose a question here. Is this legacy something these countries should be ashamed of? No, on the contrary. These decades of communism helped create a large pool of hard-working talent, and these years of hardship have taught them creativity, entrepreneurship, and persistence, all of which are appreciated not only in the region, but all across the old continent and beyond. The region of Eastern Europe finally comes to terms with the experiences that helped shape it into what it is today and becomes more and more visible on the global stage, making the most of its great potential. So in total, the Eastern European area of the world accounts for 7 countries and 3 republics out of the global total number of countries that equates to 196. The United Nations classifies Eastern Europe as including the following countries: Belarus, Bulgaria, Czechia, Hungary, Moldova, Poland, Romania, Russia, Slovakia, and Ukraine. Unfortunately, some of these countries are the poorest countries in Europe, like Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, and Bulgaria, but some of them are the former Soviet republics countries. However, let me talk about Poland, because Poland, with more than 38 million inhabitants, is the largest nation in Central and Eastern Europe. And Poland is a steadily rising European economy with a healthy banking sector, large population, but unfortunately low wages. Given its sizable population and growing middle class, Poland is becoming a growing market of interest to international businesses. As the first country in nearly a decade to be upgraded to a developed market status and the only EU country to have experienced growth every year since joining, Poland represents a unique opportunity for international businesses. So the country has been recording high levels of growth since 1989, and it is making strides in catching up with Western Europe. Since 1989, it has increased its GDP per capita by almost 150%, more than any other country on the continent. And we can say that Poland's continued economic growth during 2020 captured the attention of international businesses, especially in the midst of a global economic slowdown. Supported by soaring wages, generous social transfers, and a very tight labor market, consumer spending last year was upbeat. So in Poland, the growth is expected to continue to expand because of the sizable population and because of growing middle class. The country, we can say, reinforced its image as a steady rising economy following the global financial crisis, when it was the only country in the EU to join economic growth in 2009. Even more impressively, this was not a one-off achievement. Poland has the best long-term record for cumulative growth among CEE countries since 1989. So, what are Poland's big attractions? Firstly, there is the size of the domestic market. By far, it is the largest in CEE, which means that it's much easier to find workers with appropriate skills in appropriate numbers. It's especially important for larger production sites. Secondly, Poles are still in the catch-up phase when it comes to consumption. So on the one hand, they are ready to work very hard, and on the other hand, they are willing to spend, which means not only a big but also quickly growing market. And thirdly, many investors recognize that wages in Poland are significantly below EU average, but the skills they find there are very similar to those they can tap into Western Europe. And finally, as a member of the EU since 2004, Poland gives investors access to this market, while its geographical closeness means low transportation costs and the ability to respond quickly. These two advantages are much bigger than, for example, they exceed the advantage of transportation from Asia. So these factors mean that Poland has consistently continued to attract foreign direct investment with nearly 140 billion euro invested since 1994. And Poland is also attracting more high value added investments. This is because its main asset is not just low per hour labor costs. It also offers a highly skilled workforce. Poland's biggest export products comprise vehicles and parts, machinery and mechanical appliances, electrical machinery and equipment. One of the important stabilizing factors for the economy, and also at the same time an interesting destination for investment, is the banking sector. With core Tier 1 capital ratio at 12.5% for the whole sector, Poland's domestic banking industry is one of the best capitalized in Europe. So the banking industry remains an attractive place to invest, given the growth potential of Poland's domestic market. Poles are still in the catch-up phase when it comes to consumption. So on the one hand, they are ready to work hard, and on the other hand, as I mentioned before, they are pretty willing to spend. And financial markets are also one of the success stories of Poland's post-communist transformation. The Warsaw Stock Exchange, which has more than 380 companies listed on the main market, has become one of Europe's most dynamic initial public offering markets, attracting many companies from the region. In terms of possible growth opportunities for Poland, there are quite a few. Let me mention such fields as energy, manufacturing, agriculture, and tourism. I won't stop at each of them because the time is limited. However, for example, let's take tourism. With its abundance of natural scenery and historic landmarks, Poland attracts thousands of tourists every year. And since becoming a member of the EU in 2004, the country has experienced a surge in tourism and was regarded as the world's 16th most popular tourist destination in 2016, with an estimated 17.5 million foreign visitors. And since then, the numbers have only grown, with over 18 million visitors in 2017 and 20 million in 2020. Poland's growing tourism market has attracted the attention of international brands such as Accor, Marriott, Best Western, Hilton, etc. And in general, the economic situation in Poland, especially taking into consideration the effects of corona crisis, can be rated as very good. Poland's economic contraction due to the coronavirus pandemic is expected to be 3.5%, much lower than the Eurozone recession of 8%. So it all gives us an image of the country which is growing very fast and is becoming to have a very steady position in the European market. And I would like to finish up with some opinion of German journalists. According to Ulrich Knöcker in the German Rheinische Post, Eastern Europe gives strength to the entire continent. And this is especially true for Poland, Hungary, and Romania, because these three countries are growing at a rate of 5 to 6% this year. And the average for the Eurozone is 4.3%. So the commentator also adds that this is an example of the miracle in the labor market, because unemployment at 3.1% actually meant full employment at the beginning of this year. And Poland was the second lowest unemployment country among the 37 OECD countries after Japan. And the last but not least point I would like to mention is I would like to give you a comparison, but first of all, I need to make sure that you know who Robert Lewandowski is. Robert Lewandowski is our national reason of pride in soccer, because this 32-year-old soccer player has scored over 500 goals for his clubs and countries since starting his career in Polish leagues in 2007. And he has beaten Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo to be crowned best player in the world by FIFA. Why am I telling you this? Because the German journalist, which I mentioned before, quotes World Bank economist Marcin Piątkowski, who said that Poland is the Robert Lewandowski of the global economy. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much, Anita ma'am. I think with soccer, Poland is also doing great in tennis. So recently we have seen the entry in the Wimbledon semi-final. Yeah.
Yes,
Congratulations.
exactly.
Yeah.
Not that good with soccer in this Euro. You know, we didn't even go to the second stage. But anyway, our team is trying hard.
Great. Thank you so much. We got to know a lot of facts and figures about Poland today. And I think really this is going to be insightful and helping our participants, students, knowing about the potential and opportunities in Poland. Oak, sir, would you like to take it ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I must thank Dr. Anita for the extremely, enlightening inputs to us. And basically, she highlighted a very good point by referring to Poland, but I think that is applicable to all emerging markets. So just as Poland is transforming itself into a star upcoming economically growing country and destination, and it's also providing what you call strength to the entire eurozone. I think emerging markets also are actually functioning and acting as the engine for economic development and growth of the whole world. And I think we can just take it from there. Thank you so much, Dr. Anita, for highlighting this particular point. And all of us from emerging markets proud about being where we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sparing your time. We know that you are busy and you got some other engagements, but still you spared your time. Thank you so much for being with us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now we are moving ahead to Ms. Devika Krishnan from Dubai, UAE. Devika, ma'am, welcome to the session.
Hello. Yes, I'm here just setting up here. Just give me a second. Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, ma'am. You're audible and you're visible as well. So
Okay,
now,
that's
let me introduce Devika, ma'am. She is sector versatile and culturally aware leading professional with more than 15 years of proven record of delivering improvements by leading several large and small projects and transformational journeys in change management, which includes managing customer experience, driving continuous improvement, quality assurance, cost leadership, value chain management, technology deployment, and product lifecycle management. Her rigorous experience includes a proven track record of delivering substantial improvements via customer and technology-driven projects that transform customer experience and reduce cost, championing end-to-end lifecycle management of complex technology-enabled projects involving value optimization, continuous improvements, offshoring and resolution of critical business issues, and possesses cross-sector exposure spanning financial services and oil and gas, to name a few. She has been extensive part of leadership roles involving strategy and portfolio, which applies strategic and tactical thinking to shape, execute operational plans, performs intricate performance analysis, and promotes forward-thinking initiatives to create synergies across disparate processes while safeguarding attainment of key performance indicators. Well-versed in multicultural and regional leadership, mentors and coaches project teams and forges relationships with stakeholders to ensure realization of goals. About ma'am's experience, her past experience includes executive policy and project management, Middle East operations, lead end-to-end performance and customer fulfillment, Shell Markets, Middle East, business readiness lead and finance operation migration manager, Shell Shared Business Service Center, Malaysia, quality assurance manager and performance analyst, Citigroup, Malaysia. We are really very happy to have you today with us, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Bharati Vidyapeth, for this opportunity and for smooth organization of this conference today. So feel very privileged to be part of this conference. Yeah, let me share my screen today, and I hope you can see it. Just 1 minute. Let me know when you can see my screen. Yeah.
Sure.
Have shared my screen. All right, I've shared. I hope you can see the slides now. You're able to see the slides?
Not yet.
Baljeet ma'am, you have made a presenter?
Yes, she's a presenter. She should be able to share.
It's already shared. The
Yes,
slides?
it is visible. Yes, it is visible now.
Okay, thank God. This is the challenge, virtual challenge. All right then, shall we start? Thank you very much once again and very good afternoon. All right, today my topic is about emerging markets. What are the HR trends, challenges and opportunities? We have heard a lot of information, valuable and useful information across country so far. So what I'm going to share today, it's about a real life experience, hot from the oven, what's happening in Dubai and some of experiences in Malaysia, because I'm a Malaysian nationality and working in Dubai for the last 10 years. So I have experiences both in Dubai and Malaysia, and with pandemic, I've been hearing a lot of things, what is happening back in my country as well. So it's good to share here some of the real life experiences and what are the trends that we believe from the corporate world that it's going to stay for now or a couple of years in the coming years. Yeah, so let me just start with the first. You may have heard a lot about remote working. Yeah, this is what's happening here back in Dubai with pandemic. We started usually with 3.5% of the total population workforce work from home. But thank you to pandemic, they have actually increased it to 85% of the populations are all working from home. Okay, what does this mean in terms of opportunity for the organization? It's obviously about cost leadership. So we have about potential savings about USD 11,000 per employee when they start working from home. So in Dubai, majority of this chunk is coming from the office space and rental management. As you may already aware, Dubai is one of the most expensive real estate management in the world. So the rentals are very expensive. So what we do, taking the opportunity for the pandemic, we are shrinking the office space. So in my office, we used to have about 3 floors. Now we shrink it, make it only 1 floor. So with that, how do we manage the employee? So for those employee who wants to work in the office, they have to book their tables and their meeting rooms well in advance through the electronic device, the calendar, and then they go to office, hot desking, perform their job, and then go back. So with that, we know how many employees are exactly coming and how many people will be using the hot desk every day. So that helps us to manage. So this is how this remote working has been being managed here in Dubai, and not only in my office, which is a property management company, even oil and gas, even all other offices in Dubai are following this hybrid model now. Yeah, although we feel the remote working may not be, for a long time completely, it will be here to stay. The hybrid model, it's not like completely everyone going to work from home or everyone going to work from office. What we do back now here, we assess the employee's personality, whether they'll be able to work highly virtual, or they need to have some guidance, or what is the nature of their job? Do they need to be on the field, or can they support it from home? And also the home situations. Yeah, not everyone is comfortable to work from home, which is a fact. So we assess all these factors and then we decide what is it really we're going to follow. But at this point of time in Dubai, we are following a hybrid model. Yeah, so it's going to stay for now and for the next couple of years, because when we ask employees, do you only want to work from home? They'll say, oh my God, we feel so isolated. We want to come to office. Okay then, do you want to come to office? They'll say, oh no, we cannot be imagining coming to office, the commute and the parking. So we want to work from home. So employees are confused to a soul, including me. So we don't really know exactly what to do at this point of time, but we are following a hybrid model for now for the next couple of years. So what do the government do in UAE to support this hybrid model working culture? So they are taking advantage of this pandemic and virtual working. The UAE government has issued a virtual working visas to all the expatriates in the world. It's open. Yeah, it's just a nominal fee about USD 250 to 300 per year. So you can move your home office to Emirates, yeah, any part of UAE, and then they will give you the visa. You can bring your family, your children's education here, you can work here. So what happened when you bring the children educated here and then studying here, working here remotely, there are lots of opportunity for the economic boosting. So we will be doing the education here, and you will be doing the foreign currency transaction, and also those going to work from home, they're not going to just work, they will also do like a part of their tourism activity in the evening. So that is also boosting the tourism. So this virtual working visas is actually working well. It's really going so well that we are the 6th most favorable working hub in the world at this point of time. So this is going to help to boost the economic as well. So that's why we feel this trend going to stay here for a couple of years because of all those opportunities. But what is the challenge that we heard enough of the opportunity? What is the challenges like to be working from home? You know, the challenge is like keeping the employees engaged, motivated, and productive, because when they are highly individual, highly virtual, so you do not have much of a human connection outside of the home. So it is actually quite a challenging time to manage. Yeah, so we will speak how do we tackle this in the next slides, in the next couple of points. So this is the first trend, which you called it hybrid model. So hybrid working style is going to stay for the next couple of years. That's trend number 1. So let me pause here before I move on to the next slide. Okay. Second trend, easing analytics. I'm sure you would have heard about data everywhere. That's what some of my colleagues used to say, that our eyes are sore, our ears are bleeding, hearing this kind of terminology, especially with pandemic, data analytics, easing analytics, measure what matters. This is really lots of information around analytics. So what happened last year, just after the pandemic, I think end of last year, we had an interview. So we interview a data analytic a professional. Yeah. So when we asked them, how good are you with data? They said, yeah, I'm very good. So how much do you use data back in your previous company? So she told me that we usually send survey. You know, we hear from our employee, we send survey. So I say, how often do you send a survey? Once a year. Fantastic. So when do you discuss about the outcome of the survey? The next year. So 2019, they will send a survey. They discuss the outcome in 2020, and they classify this about data analytics. So I'm sure this is not data analytics, guys. This is not measuring what matters. We should be doing much more than that. Yeah, and with pandemic, it just accelerated the need of using more data-driven business decision. Okay, easing analytics or data analytics, this is the biggest trend. I'm sure you'll be hearing this really often in the next couple of days. It's here to stay, right? So what is important here is about understanding the ability to extract the data, to understand, to learn, to convert this data to a business-driven information, meaningful insight to make business-related, strategical and tactical decision, and use it to develop HR policies and framework. That's what we call easing analytics. It is not that employee survey that you send quarterly or once a year and discuss about it the next year when people have completely forgotten about what they have written. Yeah. So there are 4 key areas. Yeah, there are 4 key areas that we focusing now back in Shell or even the companies that I'm with now. So we are I'm going to talk about 4 key areas. How do these analytics link with HR and the day-to-day life, right? The first one is identifying and improve employee engagement and satisfaction. So what makes an employee satisfied with their job? Is it just the finance? Is it just the bonuses? Or is it about the environment? Is it about the leadership? Is it about the job environment? enrichment? Is it about the job satisfaction, or is it the purposefulness of the job? What is it really motivate the staff? What does it make them satisfied? And how does this employee satisfaction linked with employees' productivity? What can we do to boost that key drivers so that the employee are more satisfied and they are more productive? So this is where the data analytics are being used. The second point is employee attrition root cause analysis. This is something which we have done in the past, but we are doing it quite robust now due to pandemic. As you know, a lot of people are losing job. We are doing restructuring, employee optimization. A lot of changes are being happening now. So what we do with employee attrition is we check the data to see what kind of pool of talent are leaving, why they are leaving, which part of the year they are living, where they are going, what is it that the competitors are offering for them that our companies cannot offer. So these are some kind of analytics that we are doing to reduce the attrition or to identify, to understand the reason behind employee turnovers and how to retain the best talent. Yeah. The third point is predicting future performance. So what we do is we do data analytics to find out what are the key competencies for certain pool of talent. For example, I'm a project manager. I have a team of project coordinators, project managers who are working in multiple projects. So we want to know what is the key competency of this project manager that make sure they are very successful, how fast and how effective they can deliver their project on time in full. So what are the key competency behind this? What are the behavioral things behind this? So we identify that, we use this for our future recruitment. When we are hiring the next project manager, we take this kind of competency behavioral to be included so that we attract the right talent. So the last one is training and development. It's quite basic. We always do a gap analysis to see what kind of trainings that we need to train to our employee, what is the gap, and how much is the investment that we are making, and what is the return on investment that we are getting out of the training, what kind of development that we need to do, what about their career move and career goals. All those studies are happening around using data analytics. Yeah, so these are the few examples that we are using now, using data analytics. Yeah. So the key challenge that we can talk about using analytics or using data is the data integrity. How robust is our processes? How digitalized we are, able to generate a solid data which reflects the correct reflections of the situations of the correct reflections of the situations. And the second point is the skill set within the HR professionals, because we know HR professional has been focusing primarily on the human aspect of HR, but now it's high time that we rely more on data and technologies. So how are we equipped? Are we ready for this? Yeah, so this is the two challenges that we see. It's quite obvious in the labor market now for HR professionals. Yeah, so that is trend number 2, using analytics. Then quickly let me move on to the next slide, which is trend number 3, which is digitalization and automation. They said you plan now or perish later. This is quite a hot topic that being discussed even before pandemic. I know companies, especially countries like India, you were so forward in terms of digitalization, and in Dubai itself, UAE is taking it very seriously in terms of the digitalization project. Yeah, the government is very ambitious. They have launched a blockchain strategy. So by end of this year, 2021, they want 50% of the government transaction to be performed using a blockchain platform. Yeah, so that shows how ambitious they are, and they have allocated about billions of money towards digitalization. That's one point. And second point we see, if you see the workforce now, it's all full of millennials. And even the elders of Gen Z, it's already start working for a couple of years now. So when you have this group of young, vibrant, energetic, IT-savvy people, you can't give them old tools to work on, right? So they will not come and work for us. because they want things so fast, engaging, highly digitalized. That's how. So we need to be highly digitalized, highly automated to attract the right trend. I just give you an example. I have like a 22 years old niece who have got a job offer. So I asked her, hey Mimi, how are you going on with the job? So she told me, I'm not thinking of taking the job. I said, why not? She said, no, they're asking me to come to the office to sign the letter of offer. I said, that's cool, isn't it? It's normal. Why not? She said, who uses letter of offer now? We are in 21st century. I'm thinking, what will I learn from company like that? Because these group of people, they used to see paperless life. They want everything electronic. If you're asking me to come to office and sign letter of offer, I feel it's a very old school. That is from her. Yeah, although it sounds very funny, but the logic behind it, this young talent, they are looking for what do we get from the company, how progress they are, especially in terms of technology. So that's what digitalization and automation is a big thing. It's going to stay for the next decade, and you will be hearing this from me or from many more speakers to come. Yeah, this is one thing, it's the big, very key things that I wanted to talk about. So talking about digitalization, this is especially for students. If you have students here listening to this speech, I want you to understand that there are key things that you need to be aware of, especially about application tracking system. You might say that, oh, Devki, this is an old technology. Yes, but we still have students or even talent, yeah, not aware whether their resume is compatible with the ATS. We have a best of the best talent. They'll be sending messages to LinkedIn telling us, oh, I have done this job, oh, I'm so keen to do this job, I have this skill, I have done this certification, but we can't see them in that application site because their resumes are not formatted or not compatible with the country that they are applying the job for. So it's always good that you check whether your resume is ATS compatible. Yeah, that's one thing. It's basic, but we tend to overlook. The second point here, if you see, we're talking about infography, CV, and resume. It doesn't really take over from the traditional CVs, but these are like a supplementary material. So when you send cover letters to the company, you can use this as a supplementary material. It's a summary of your performance, your experiences, your education. So it just gives you very highly virtual, very attractive, which catch the eyes of employee to see. It's just a summary with lots of pictures, logos, colors compared to the traditional CVs. So these are few things that is quite rampant in the market now for the job seekers. Yeah, and we also use in the company application for job description, because in Dubai we are talking about gender neutral. We have about 180 to 200 nationality working here, so we want to comply with diversity and inclusiveness. So with that, we want to make sure our job description reflects all those elements that we are preaching about. Yeah, so how do we do that? So we have a special app we should actually use to write specifically job description, taking into considerations all those points, elements that we want them to be reflected: gender neutral, equal pay, equal opportunity. We wanted the talents to be very diverse, very inclusive, so these to be reflected in a job description, and these apps are quite helpful for us to write them down. Yeah, so this is the part of digitalization, and this is such a great help in current working scenario with this pandemic. The third one is about virtual reality and augmented reality, and I'm sure you would have heard about this so much that you may have even these facilities at home, because virtual reality started as a game, I remember, but now we are using them in a real life situations, even for example healthcare. So in Dubai, the Ministry of Health is actually working on this digitalization as part of the digitalization program, where if you are a doctor, all right, you can just use the virtual reality glasses and support to guide the pandemics who are on the ground. For example, you have emergency, you have illness, they have emergency illnesses, and their pandemics are there on the ground bringing up the patient in the ambulance. The doctor used these facilities to guide them, to coach them on how to treat the patient from the ambulance itself. And some of the patients don't even need to go to the hospital to seek treatment, because doctor able to treat from the virtual reality support, they can guide the patients in their hospitals at home with their comfort of their home, and the doctor from the hospital without any traveling in a real time. Yeah. So that's how much digitalization has been progressing here, right? And also, if you talk about IKEA, before you buy, you can actually use the virtual reality help to see how this piece of furniture fit into your home even before you purchased it. So these young millennials and Gen Z, they are experiencing this, and they want this kind of things to be incorporated in their office when they work for. Yeah, so we have to be more digitalized and highly automated, and with pandemic it accelerated even more. So this is a trend that's going to stay. And I'm just going to touch quickly about gamifications. And I know have been happening quite a lot now in a recruitment field. So gone are the days where we give the aptitude test, we give them case studies. Now we just put this candidate through about 30 minutes game. You play this out, and then by the time they finish the game, the next an hour or so, we can extract a lot of information from the candidate. Their emotional intelligence, their leadership skill, leadership style, their people skill, their problem solving skill, their critical thinking, all this information we can get it way much better than conventional one-to-one interview. That's how this gamification is being used. Yeah. Passive recruitment, we do that quite a lot, because when we advertise for a job, I have a project manager role here available in Dubai, and then I have few criteria for the role. So how do I recruit them? So we put it in a LinkedIn and all other job searching websites, when we receive all the applications. So, but sometimes we don't get the right talent just through the active recruitment. So what we do passive recruitment. That's why these digitalization, these application apps are helping us. They tell us all over the world which are the project manager with all the right certification, with the experience that we wanted. They match it, they give it to us, so they will be able to get in touch with them and getting the right talent. So passive recruitment, this is how digitalization is supporting passive recruitment. And the last point here, very quickly, on virtual reality training and onboarding. All right, so now there is no need for us to go to office to be onboarded, to meet the senior leaders, to understand our workspace. This is all done 360-degree comfort of our home. We can just know what's happening in the office. The senior leaders walk us through. We know where's our workspace, the company, the building, everything. It's done virtually. And even training, for example, in Dubai, if you see there are lots of commuters and trams, all those drivers who are highly technical doing this job, they are going through their training through the virtual reality. Yeah, because this virtual reality actually giving a lot more very diverse real life scenarios for training, and it is expected to save a lot of cost. It's about £30,000 per year using a virtual reality for training. That is the kind of cost saving that we are looking at. So these are some of the sneak peeks of what's happening in the digital front in the company, be it Shell, even be it Petronas, or even you be it the property management company. There's lots of companies are using all this kind of digitalization now here. This is just a sneak peek. So what is the challenge again? The right skill. As I just mentioned, in HR, within HR professionals, we are more people oriented, but now we are moving to the technology. We are moving towards more heavily on automation and digitalization. So for that, do we have the right skill within this pool of people to support this kind of digitalization that's happening now? Yeah. So that's trend number 3. And let me quickly, I'm not sure how much time I have. All right, let me move on to the last one, the 4th trend, gig economy. I'm sure you would have heard this term gig economy quite often now, and especially in Dubai, this gig economy has been accelerated so much forward. Like in the last 1 year, it has moved the wave that did catch up almost 4 to 5 years forward. Yeah, we have already doing so much of gig economic here in Dubai. And what does this gig economic means? And every time I talk about gig economic, I have people asking, are they nerds? Are they Harry Potters? What is this gig economic? It's just a sophisticated term. In a layman term, it's about being independent, freelancing, and knowledge-based economy. Okay, gig is now the new big. So what kind of people do that? They usually, again, millennials, Gen Z, they don't want to tied up with it, 9 to 5 desktop tied up kind of a job. They wanted to, even not only Gen Z, even if you take X, Generation X or baby boomers, nobody wants to do this 9 to 5 and sitting in front of laptop doing this desk bounded job. They want everything flexible. They want dynamic jobs and projects. They want to own their own schedule so that they have a better work-life balance. It's also this gig economics going to reduce the long-term cost, because gig economics are people who are highly specialized, highly skilled people. So you don't need, the company no need to train them. They are already trained. So we save on training. And also they are project-based stuff. Why do we pay for their vacations, medicals, housing allowances? We don't need to pay all those things. We pay for the job they perform. Most of the gig economic staffs, we are paying on the project they perform. So we don't have other fringe benefits that we are paying for the full-time employees. Yeah, that's what happening here in Dubai, and it also varies according to the country. Slightly different back in Malaysia and Singapore, but in Dubai we pay for the job, for the project they do. Yeah. And also it develop a broader skills. It is not just one particular skill that we need. We need a broader skill. Dubai now have engaged very gigantic, big dynamic project in the last couple of years. So they are targeting by 2030 to complete at least 30% of the transportation to autonomous vehicles. That's quite ambitious. And they also increasing the share of renewable energy. And the third biggest project is Hyperloop supersonic transportation system. So for this kind of a big budgeted dynamic project, we can't just sit for 9 to 5 fixed kind of employment. We would want to have a wide kind of skilled people who are flexible all over the world with a broader skill and wide range of different kind of skill set. So for this kind of things, gig economic is going to be here, and this may be the new employment model that we will come across. Yeah, and it also promotes cross-country continental expertise. And in Dubai, the UAE clients, they want people from all over the world. I have a project, my resources may not be only Dubai or UAE or Egypt, Bahrain or Qatar, but I also look beyond it. I can sort out from Europe, Southeast Asia, China, Japan, name it. So I can get my resources all over the world. As long as they have right skill, they can support with virtual working environment, with digitalization and automation. Anybody can perform from anywhere. So what matters most is the right skill, and that's why a gig economic is one of the latest and the new employment model that everyone is looking for. Every companies are looking for. Okay, the challenges, very quickly, it's about isolation, because they work highly individual, virtual, so you feel isolated. The job insecurity will be there, because how often do you get your project back to back? How long do you need to wait get your project? Yeah, and when you don't have a project in hand, you also may not get an inconsistent income. Your income may not be fixed like the fixed employment contract. It varies according to the project they work, so the income is also varies according to the project. So that is fourth trend, gig economic. So far we have talked about four. First one, remote working, hybrid model. We talk about easing analytics. We talked about digitalization. And now last point, we talked about gig economic, right? So that concludes today's fourth trend that I'm talking about. Just some additional points for students if you are here in part of this seminar, especially for HR professionals. If you are looking for specialization, if you are looking to further your post-graduations, try to do some certification around HR analytics, data scientists, or digitalization, because these are the highly demanded role now. Yeah, with this certification, when you choose your internship projects, don't just purely fixed on how much they are paying you. Also look at the nature of the projects that you're going to part of it, how much exposure you are going to get, what kind of skill you're going to get, or how does this project, internship project, going to upskill you, it's going to enhance your skill, how much marketable you will be by taking that internship project. So with certification, with internship, you have the knowledge theoretically as well as hands-on experience. So that will make you more marketable in the future, in the coming years. Yeah, so that's all. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you so much. I hope this provided you with some useful insights on what's happening here in Dubai in terms of HR trends and how the pandemics has formed or changed the market force here. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, Devika ji. Sorry, Dr. Bharti, I just take 1 minute. Mute karo tumse. I must thank Dr. Oak sir. Thanks to him that we could have great personalities and resource persons in Devike and Anita as well. Thanks to them. And madam, it was really very enlightening. And our students, faculty, and all the dignitaries and the participants from different countries, they really enjoyed your speech. It was really very informative and enlightening and very educative. Thank you.
Thank you. I must tell that I was quite nervous because my speech is between the lunch and the audience, right? So it's quite a challenging zone. So I tried to kind of, push it through as much as I can. I hope, it reached.
Madam, I think everybody has forgotten the lunch and they want to have the next session immediately without lunch because they listen to you.
I hope so.
Over to Bharti now.
Thank you, Devika ma'am. Actually, as sir rightly said, it was a very, very interesting session. So really people forgot to take lunch and they are not hungry anymore. So you have really given a very nice overview of various trends and challenges. And I'm sure it is very, very useful for our students. Also, you have rightly said, and this is a really right time for, this type of interaction when our students are really looking for internships and you told them what they should look for when they go for the internship. So really, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and sparing your time with us today. And we are really happy and very glad to have you today with us. So
thank you so much. Sir. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Oak. Now we'd like to have a group photograph again. After every session, we will have Baljit Madam, Bharti, Shraddha, Shukla, please don't forget. These are very good memories and these personalities, these people, very difficult to get. So all of you, please put on your camera. Dr. Baljit, over to you. Oh, sir, you wanted to say something?
No, should I conclude or is it, are we backing up? I think we can back up.
Yes, sir.
Sir, 1 minute. We have a photograph now, group photograph. We are all entering the e-classroom now, virtual classroom.
Okay.
And Dr. Baljit will have a photograph. Okay, sir. It takes time for the people to unmute and we should not get delayed. We are eager to listen to Dr. Oak. Oak, sir, for your concluding remarks.
Have we finished the click or do I speak and then we take a click? Oh. Okay, fine. Okay. No, I'll just take a few minutes, friends, because there has been so much of fear and kind of fear psychosis because of this pandemic. So I believe every difficulty is an opportunity, and more so if we look from the macro perspective of the emerging economies. So it is only thing I feel it is time for us to have a relook in our development strategy, business strategy, and we must stop taking any single country, whether it's the US or China, and develop our own what we call the global people-centric model. Globally, basically think globally but act locally. And while doing this, we must ask ourselves just a few questions. Is the march of progress improving the quality of life of ordinary people, not only select few, but everybody down the line? Or is it leading to economic dualism, where we are creating disparity? Is it building ecosystems and building confidence in the economy, which is a must, which, the confidence is on the lower level currently, which has to be built up? then is it creating possibilities of doing business well? Ease of doing business, as you call it, that will be one of the most important things to happen. Is it attracting local and foreign investment? Because ultimately, it's always FDI, FII matters, and business cannot happen without investment. Then is it only a pursuit of consumerism, as we have witnessed for the last few years, unfortunately? So is it only the pursuit of consumerism, or does it have possibilities of social change and in terms of changes in the ecosystem? And last but not the least, are we able to, as Devika ma'am has rightly shown how they are re-engineering and reinventing the HR practices. Are we really there to re-engineer and reinvent? If we are able to do this, and if we are able to work on the local, that is think globally, act locally business model, I'm sure we'll be able to open up and convert the pent-up demand into effective demand and enter an era of economic well-being and prosperity with equity and sustainability. And this is what I look forward to in the years to come. And this particular thing will only remember as something that happened, and we more remember and we cherish how we have been able to overcome this lean patch or bad patch, as they call it. So with this, I conclude my remarks. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Veninger, sir, and of course, Bharti Vidyapit is almost homecoming. And thank you, my panel members also. Thank you, Dr. Firoz also. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Firoz. And thank you, sir. It's great. Bharti, over to you. And please inform everybody now, next session will start at 2:10. So let them have lunch.
Yes, so now I request Shukla sir to give us an overview of today's presentation schedule, which is going to be after the lunch.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we had a very nice session, very wonderful inauguration, and after hearing all these luminaries, I think we have set the right platform for ICM 2021 to move ahead. Now, after the lunch, we are having the technical sessions, and there are two technical sessions which will be going together. And the technical session, the details I have sent on the mail also. Just now you can check the mail, and also I have put on the WhatsApp group. So the session named as A, that will be there from 2:10. And the participants are Pooja Sharma and Dr. Shiva Prakash, Pankaj Roy Gupta, then Rashi Patil and Dr. Sampada Gulani, then Mr. Sujit Naik and Dr. Sachin Aicte, also the Shushanta Kumar Naik, then Mahanish Panda, then Dr. Sachin Aicte and Vikrant Nagrale, then Samita Kundel and Mridul, yes, Miss Mridul. And we are also having Dr. Baljit Kaur and Beki Sunil. So these papers will be having into A track. Then also we are having this. Yeah, I have shared the link. So the link for the track A and track A1 is different, so that to be noted, and you can check it with on the mail or on the WhatsApp group. Then the track A1 is for the students of IMED, and also the few other presenters are there. And in that, Ms. Suesha, Dr. Ashok Madani, Dr. Then Mr. Dheeraj Kasande, Akir Gupta, also Neha Garg, Divya Jaiswal. Okay, I will read these. There are so many papers, so I will read the paper numbers. That will be easy for you to know. The paper number 24, paper number 36, paper number 37, paper number 59, paper number 3, paper number 4, paper number 7, paper number 12, paper number 18, paper number 20, paper number 30, paper number 32, paper number 33, paper number 35, 39, 51, and 47. So these are going to be into the technical session A1. So we'll join back at sharp 2:10, and I wish you good luck. And after this, yeah, we are having the musical session, and that will be starting immediately after this. Once the technical sessions are over.
Dr. Shukla,
Yes.
hope every paper presenter knows about his schedule and the technical session 1, 2, etc.
Yes, sir.
Everybody knows?
Everybody
Okay.
knows it. It has been mailed also on their group also.
In case they have any queries, let them put it in the chat so that you can, you, Baljit, Shraddha or Bharti, all of you can reply. Okay?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Go to Bharti now.
Thank you, sir.
So, yeah, thank you, sir. So with this, we finish our first plenary session, and then we are going to meet again back at 2:10 after the lunch. Thank you.
अरे बाबा कुठलं पोहोचायचं आहे डीप राहायचं असतं खाली वरून अरे सगळं मला कामाला लावताय
Am I audible, Power sir? Am I audible, Power sir? Am I audible, Power sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Am I audible, Baljit ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Aicte, you're ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. 2:10 sharp, you're going to start.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and track 1A, sorry, Swati Desai madam and other members are there. Aicte,
हाँ सर. Yes, sir.
तुमचं म्यूट करा ना, आवाज फार येतोय. हाँ, Dr. Aicte. Dr. Aicte.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Aicte, now important thing is, please keep everybody informed that there are 2 tracks now. 1 and 1A, one is separate track. And there are many papers that are being presented. How are you, Bezad? Gitika Kapoor madam has joined? Yeah. Mr. Bezad, how are you?
I am fine. Hello,
I
sir.
don't see that smile on you, on your face.
Thank you.
Bezad?
Thank you. Great to see you again.
Same here. Where are you now? In Iran or here?
Ahmedabad.
Okay. That's great.
Thank you, sir.
We are waiting for Gitika Kapoor madam to join. She is the chairperson of this particular event. I will welcome you both just for a few seconds and then over to my entire team, which is really doing great job. Jan क्या है? हाँ बलजीत वो clear करो everybody. This is a request to all resource persons, chairpersons, and the guest of honor. Once you join as a presenter and then you leave, then because of technical issues, you become an attendee, and it takes time to rejoin and put on the camera and unmute yourself. So once you join, please continue till the session is over or till all sessions are over. So these are some technical issues. I hope everybody will bear with me and my team. Dr. Aicte, you have the list with you, right? About presenters and everything, all paper presenters and all.
Yes, sir. I'm having that list.
Great.
Dr. Pooja Sharma and Dr. Shiv Prakash. Are you there, sir? Yes.
Gitika Kapoor madam, we are audible to you.
Pankaj Roy Gupta, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome. Sir, you are not audible.
Geetika Kapoor, madam, you have joined. बोला ना मग तुम्ही.
Yes.
नाही 4 मिनिटं अशीच वेस्ट केली.